In part 1 we visited Negombo, Wilpattu and Anuradhapura. In part 2 we're travelling to Trincomalee and Sigiriya. Just 8 kilometres outside of Trincomalee are the famous hot spring wells. There are 7 wells in square shapes. They're around 3 or 4 feet deep and you can clearly see the bottom. The temperature is very high, but they vary slightly from one spring to another. They are thought to be thousands of years old and people bathe in the rich mineral water. And of course, where there's a well, there's coins from people making wishes. We arrived in our accommodation. We were staying in Trincomalee for a week, one of our longest stays on the trip, so we booked accommodation with good reviews and great location. It was really spacious inside and everything had been recently refurbished. The name of the hotel was Coastal Villa Heaven and the owner was really friendly. And the best part is that we're a short walk from Upaveli Beach. This area is the most popular part of Trinco. There's plenty of cafes and bars set up on the beach. Luckily our hotel included free beach lounges in partnership with one of the bars. Otherwise you just needed to purchase something and you could use the chairs. The sand was incredibly hot, so we often walked through the water just to cool off our feet. A popular place to visit is Fernando's. It has bars, restaurants, places for massages and even a gym. You'll also find the renowned Cafe on the 18th. Although we do try to eat local when we're travelling, sometimes a good coffee and some Western food is appreciated. The food was so nice and the service was excellent, but the real winner was the coffee, with some incredible latte art. It's not cheap, but it's worth a visit, and we did several times. Then it was time to hit the surf. The water was a great temperature, nice to cool off but not too cold. It was such a nice spot to relax by the beach and they even had showers. Most days we spent at our local beach, but we did venture up to Nuwara, about 15 minutes away north. We'd heard it was a nice spot and even quieter. We decided to spend the afternoon in Nuwara. It was definitely quieter, but we didn't think there was too much difference between the two beaches. It was nice to see a different part of Trinco and we enjoyed some lunch here. One morning we ventured south of Trinco where there's a wild deer park. Deers gather here as there are shaded trees and people come to feed them. There's a hut to buy food but it wasn't open as we arrived early. So if you are going early, bring some vegetables with you. The deers are timid but they do enjoy a feed. Deers can be seen all over Trinco, but this is the best place to see them. Next we went to Fort Frederick, built in 1624. There are some really amazing views here across Trinco and there's a small fee to get in and explore the grounds. There are some easy paths and you also saw peacocks while wandering through. As you walk up the headland you get to an amazing Hindu temple built right into the cliff with many colourful statues. It's a must see if you're visiting Trinco. You can also take a boat trip around the headland, but being on foot was enough for us. The temple was beautifully decorated with amazing colours. It felt like such a unique experience to wander around the temples with the coastal views below us. We spent some time just wandering around the paths and admiring the sights. Then it was time for breakfast. We found a place that had good ratings on Google, but finding the actual cafe was a little harder. To find it, you had to walk through a hardware store and up some stairs. They hadn't been open long, and the people in the shop had big smiles on their faces at what must have been some more confused-looking Westerners passing through to get to the cafe. And sure enough, there it was, W1 Cafe. It was on a busy street, but there was a nice lounge-type area to sit, and the food was okay and the coffee was nice. The owner was really friendly and had some great plans for the cafe, like a roof terrace. We then headed to Marble Beach. The beach is run by the Navy and there's a small charge for entry. It's really clean and it has a nice sandy beach with clear water. There's ample parking if you have a driver or if you take a tuk-tuk or your own car. There's a resort at the beach and it does have a restaurant, but the reviews weren't great, so we didn't stay for lunch and we just enjoyed the beach. The temperature in Trinco in September gets up to around 35 degrees, which of course means there can be storms. But when you do get one, there can be very heavy downpours. We really enjoyed our beach stay at Trinco. It was a nice week of relaxation amongst the adventure of Sri Lanka. Lots of people take trips here to see the dolphins and the turtles and some nearby islands, but this wasn't something we wanted to do and we were just happy enjoying the beaches and the cafes. Next up, it was Sigiriya and a new adventure. We jumped in our car with our driver and headed to Sigiriya. It's a fairly short distance from Trincomalee, so there was time to take in a view of the Sigiriya Lion Rock before we headed to check into our accommodation. And there it was. It's a World Heritage Site and it used to be a palace built over 1,500 years ago. It stands over 180 metres high. We were excited for our next accommodation as the reviews were so good and there was a pool that could be used to cool off after the heat of exploring the area. This was something people recommended when staying in the area as it can get really hot and a lot of the activities were quite strenuous. The accommodation was just as expected, really clean, spacious and comfortable. While in Sri Lanka, we wanted to do a few safaris as it's such a great place to experience them at reasonable costs. Nuwara is fairly close by to Sigiriya and it's a great place to see the elephants this time of year as it's their annual gathering from across Sri Lanka as they seek out water in the national parks. So we decided to book an afternoon safari on our very first day. The safari was pre-arranged with our accommodation and just like that we were on our way for another adventure. It wasn't long before we started to see elephants. At times you would see males who tend to roam the park on their own, and at other times you would see groups of females with baby elephants or maybe one or two males protecting them nearby. The jeeps were very respectful of the elephant's space. They kept to the tracks, and if a male moved towards the jeep, they quickly manoeuvred away. We felt so lucky to be so close to these huge, majestic creatures. In the afternoon, we decided to explore the hotel and spend some time in the beautiful pool. It was the perfect end to day one in Sigiriya. The next morning we went to Dumbala Cave Temples, which is another UNESCO World Heritage Site and around 30 minutes from Sigiriya. The ancient temples are carved right into the rock and are over 2,000 years old. We were really amazed by the beauty of them. We couldn't believe that these amazing statues were carved right into the rock and they were so well preserved. We then made our way back down the steps to check out the giant Buddha statue before heading back to the hotel. The next morning we were up at 4 a.m. and ready to go. If you are planning to climb the rock, a few tips are: avoid the weekends and public holidays when it can get very busy, and go early before the heat and to catch the sunrise. It was easy to navigate once we arrived at the site, and there was a place to buy tickets and you were able to use credit cards. As we approached, we could see the light starting to appear. We started to get a bit concerned that we might not make the sunrise, as the height of the rock does look quite daunting, and we knew there was over 1,000 stairs to climb. Although a reasonable level of fitness is required, the climb definitely wasn't as bad as we were expecting, and going when it was cooler definitely helped. The amazing views on the way kept us distracted as we went from staircase to staircase. We arrived at the top just in time. The sky was beautiful shades of pink and blue, and the bright orange sun rose up through the hills, illuminating the mist in the countryside around the rock. It really was worth the cost, and the early morning and the climb to see it. The palace grounds itself were also amazing. You get a real hint of what it must have been like, with the pools and the remains of the palace still visible. Some people stayed for sunrise and then quickly made their way back down, but we spent quite a while exploring the grounds and taking in the views. We could even hear the elephants trumpeting in the distance. We did eventually make our way down. They take you on a slightly different route to the one that you came up on, and in the light of the day you get to see the different aspects of the fort, including some of the original lion's paws built right into the rock, and there is an area where you can see the ancient artwork on the walls, but no filming is allowed. Some people say that the climb isn't worth the money and the rock is better seen from other locations. However, we loved the climb and the experience and would definitely recommend it. At the bottom there is of course a gift shop, and drinks can be also purchased. The next morning it was time to go to our next location, but before we did we wanted to grab a coffee. We headed off on foot from the hotel and visited Moat Cafe. It had amazing reviews and it didn't disappoint. This was a great way to end our short trip in Sigiriya. And then it was on to our next location, Kandy. Subscribe and join us in part 3 as we explore Kandy and then take the famous Kandy to Ella train, as well as experiencing the many tea plantations along the way.